Hi there, I'm Kamil, ex-CSGO pro player and now a Radiant Valorant coach. I've coached over 1500 clients and 20 teams in the last 3 years. And now I want to share my knowledge with you through VOD reviews that I do for people in my Discord. If you want your VOD to be reviewed, make sure to join. Link in the description below.
No sound A. Oh, one
Where
A
are
actually.
you?
A or mid. Okay, one towards Link as well.
There.
Looks like
No one B.
they're smoking for
There.
whatever this is. Or flashing R.
Bring them down. Take total. Can't use that.
Point. That's fine.
What do you mean? Bring them down.
KO dinged hit 78.
Okay, so here, one thing I would say for sure is that I'm not a big fan of throwing your recon eye, whatever you want to call it, in middle. The main reason why is because whether you throw it or not, and whether there's gonna be 3 people, 2 people, like you will be forced to hold it anyway. Whether nobody is even gonna get spotted, you will still hold it because they could have obviously been hiding, they can walk up mid. So I would rather have you throw the lineup towards A main, mainly due to the fact that if you spot one guy, that might be a nice cue for you and Phoenix to double up and push up through A main and be able to take A main control. And if you spot obviously majority of the people in there, you might be able to actually have time to go from art to backside because a lot of the times you don't want to get stuck in art and get smoked off and then be useless. With Fade, at least you have this kind of a opportunity to be able to sit in the smoke and prowler and then get out of the smoke and peek on the prowler, which is actually pretty good. It's kind of like popping out of the flash, but instead obviously you do it to the prowler. But that's why I'm not a big fan of this this recon in the middle here because it's not like anybody's playing around it. You're just kind of throwing it and nobody's peeking off it. You're not peeking off it. Double Durst is not peeking off it. So I would definitely just do the lineup towards A, spot people here, and if you just simply want to play off sound on A, then just save it because there is literally no point of throwing it away here, I feel like.
I'll find you.
No one Link.
Yeah, so here, straight up, at least I can see a difference. Like, before we were throwing the eye to kind of throw it away, whereas here, there is actually a plan. I'm gonna throw it to try to fight, and the reason why I actually like this idea here is because it's a bonus round. A bonus round, I'm all for taking risks, I'm all for flanks, I'm all for trying to do something that is quite unorthodox, because obviously you should be losing this round due to having the gun disadvantage. So here, straight up, at least there is some sort of an idea, there is a flank possibility. Looking at them, they only have a chamber, so maybe he didn't buy a trap, maybe he forgot to buy it, and even if you walk up and you break it and go back, that's obviously pressure against the enemy team. What I mean by that is that obviously if you break the trap, the enemy team now is kind of split. Whether do we need, like, are we gonna instantly push or are we gonna go back and clear the guy that is behind us? Whereas after breaking the trap, we can just simply choose to go back and they're wasting their precious time on trying to clear the person that is already in mid-link art or anywhere else on the map.
If there's a trip, I can.
The trap is inactive. It's not active yet. Activated it again.
I'm gonna run back then.
Spike planted.
No.
50 on chamber.
Okay, so the whole idea obviously was great. It didn't work out. I feel like maybe if this was me, I would have asked Astra to play with you, so maybe you can play first. If you die, they might stop watching the flank, Astra might benefit from it, or simply just trying to double peek the guy that is going to be holding you. The reason why I feel like that's better is because this kill right now on whomever is responsible for flank is literally the most important kill. And the reason for that is that if this guy dies, suddenly people that are all in long are getting sandwiched, and they have to obviously make a decision. Are we going to fight the flanker or are we going to push those guys? And a lot of the times, if they have to make that decision, it becomes chaotic. It becomes something in between rather than unanimous decision. So right here, definitely this play would have been better because one guy might go there, one guy might go there, and the round might crumble for them.
I'm on a bit close to the wall. If they're here at least. Okay, never mind. You can rotate. Okay, 51 on
Okay, so I actually like this idea because I feel like you were actually speaking about what you're gonna do, how you're gonna do it. You have a judge, you wanna play close. You're thinking that it's gonna be A because they have a KO ulti. All great. One thing that I'm concerned about is what happens if KO straight up flashes you, which is obviously a risk. But okay, you were basically betting that he ain't gonna do that. But here, right here, I feel like one thing you could have done when you heard this flash coming, which is right here, I feel like this might have been a time for you to try to peek and try to get this angle. Because here, sure, you might be able to see them, but I feel like one is all you can count on. Whereas if you peek it, they might be kind of walking into your crosshair and you might end up spamming them, and you also might be in a position to get underneath the flash, so it won't be blinding you anymore. Whereas here, I feel like this right here was a little bit kind of one and done.
I'll find you.
Stealth B.
Bring them down.
At least 3 more, yeah.
Okay, so this is actually quite an important piece right here to stop at. So first of all, I really like this prowler towards top mid, mainly because your Astra was peeking double doors, so the lurker wasn't there just yet. So you cleared top mid, and even though B is getting pressured, like there obviously could have been a lurker, could have been a chamber, could have been Astra. Both of the characters actually are pretty good at lurking. And then you switch to art, and you understand, okay, B is being pressured, but my teammates are fine. Exchanges are not happening, so I might as well hold this. There is no point of you being there if there is already like 30 people headed there. So this is actually a really, really good play, really, really good awareness right here.
Tell me once you know that they're all dead.
And there we go, pays off perfectly.
There's only one guy.
All three there, I think.
One long, one long.
Okay, with mid.
Still waiting. Bring them down.
Eye above.
I'll find you.
Okay, mid. I'll go to arc.
We'll catch them.
Watch out for double this one.
They're sucking
Double
me
doors, I
up.
believe?
Yeah,
Double doors or art? Yeah, they smoked me up
There.
here. They're coming to you.
30 seconds left.
Yeah, two double.
Fine.
Almost ready.
Got the spike.
Spike.
Spike down mid. One enemy remaining.
There's no time. Just hide. Will do.
On you,
10
on you.
seconds left.
There's only one guy.
All three there, I think.
One long.
Yeah, so the only thing I want to be picky about this round, I guess that there are two things actually. So first of all, right here, when you got the information that all three were there, I like this push up because essentially you're kind of closing them down, you're getting a little bit closer. If you jiggle properly, you don't kind of walk peek this, you should be able to get information and be able to get away with it, which obviously allows you to tell your teammates what's happening, where they should be.
Long,
So
one long.
this little bit right here I actually like, but what I don't like is what happens right after. So here, you already know that those guys are thinking about going back from B long because obviously this fight is happening. Oh, sure, they might double back, but that's not something we're worried about because there are 3 people on B. So right now, what I would be doing is I would try to run around art right here. And the main reason why is because if they go double doors, once again, we're not worried because we have 3 people here. But if they go art, you're already jiggling here, which allows you to provide earlier information if they're going A, and that's risk-free if you jiggle properly. Another idea would be to immediately run A main, and the reason being is if you take some sort of an off angle, like for example right here, you might be able to punish anybody that is going to try to come through main, and if they try to stick together and go art, you obviously have an advanced position which allows your teammates to rotate from art, rotate from CT, and you are in main. And then the another thing right here that I wanted to mention is right over here.
Spike down mid.
So right over here, considering this is 20 seconds, and I believe you should be paying attention to it because that you've done so much this round that you should be realizing like time is low, is I would be telling my Killjoy, I'm gonna fight him, you hide. Like you want to make that clear because Killjoy right now doesn't know what you're doing. Obviously she might be stupid enough to peek him and then you both end up peeking him. So right here I'll just make it clear, Killjoy, I'm gonna fight him, you hide, and the round is over at this point.
One enemy.
You want to play? Let's play.
There.
Yeah, they're stuck in B.
Where are you? You want to fight it?
We wall.
Yep. Exactly how you said.
Get pro flash.
Take hold. Reload. Bring there. Chase them. Bring them. Spike planted. There's blood. Bring them.
Win as well.
Get pro
So
flash.
let's start with this moment right here. First of all, what I didn't like is you throwing this jail right here. Mainly because you're obviously gonna be ulting this round, there's no reason not to. So I would save this for when you ult. So you ult, you see basically where the wires are leading you to, where the enemies are, and then you can jail to obviously dispatch them of sound, take the HP away. After the jail, so ult jail, then we send prowlers in. But we cannot also ignore the fact that prowlers are gonna go to people that are the closest, so we cannot just tunnel vision on whomever the prowler is chasing. So right here, as I said, the combo could have been a little bit different. Here the ult and the prowlers are completely fine, but one thing that I would switch is, as you can see, those wires are going to the left, which means the enemies are basically two of them are there. But another thing that you should be paying attention to right now, because in my opinion you're safe right now, so you could be glancing at the map, seeing what your teammates are doing, is this Reyna flash. This Reyna flash tells you that Reyna must be close. Obviously she couldn't have thrown it from here, which means she's somewhere backside. So that means that our priority and our enemy that is basically our biggest threat right now are not those people that are here, is this Reyna. So right here, two options. Either you go backside and you try to deal with her right there, or you send the prowler this way, assuming that people that are gonna be here are not gonna wanna be fighting you, because obviously prowler is chasing somebody, they're taking a chill pill, and you try to peek like this, facing Reyna right here. So you prioritize the guy that is the furthest, the one that is pushed up, to then switch to those guys. Whereas here, because you didn't notice the Reyna flash, because you didn't glance at the map for a second, you end up doing this, and we completely don't expect Reyna to be so close, because we're focusing on those wires. So that one bit you missed. Basically, that Reyna flash that you could have glanced at the map and realized, okay, somebody's even closer, that's the one thing that decided of us failing this round.
I'll find you.
Can.
Push him, B.
So do you have a stuff for a smoke?
120.
Spike planted.
Have ult.
So I like this round. I like the idea. You reveal this with intentions of maybe pushing it. You were quite cognizant about possibility about top mid. What I do not like is right here. So right here,
120.
when you've noticed that this trap is offline, I would be like, this is my golden chance and I need to be going. Sure, we can argue that maybe someone is here, maybe they're holding whatever, but I'm willing to take that risk before this trap comes back. And the second of all, as I've discussed with my student that is on this vote review in the previous session, the longer the flank, the more time the enemies have to figure out that the flank is possible. So right here, another a little bit of a moment that I didn't like right here is this hesitation right after the Killjoy
Spike
ult.
planted.
And the main reason why is because right here, the second that the Killjoy ults, it's a sign for those enemies to go back. Sure, they obviously could try to push it, but that's less likely. A lot of people will just plan for long and play from long. So already at this point, I'm afraid that they might be facing me. But one thing going for you right here is that if they're going back, at least they're pressing W, right? They're running backwards or they're running forwards, so they're gonna be on an off step. So here, in my opinion, the sooner you peak, the better. Another approach that you could have had was to simply just hold this angle. And the good thing about that is that there is no risk of you peeking into multiple people and you will be able to separate them. And the reason why this would also be a really good idea is because this is the way I visualize this situation. If they start going back, and I'm assuming that you should be good enough to be able to kill one person because let's say chamber goes back, trap activates, maybe they assume nobody's here. After you kill one person, they will have to start chasing you, right? Which is obviously going to leave a lot of space on site for your teammates to try to defuse the spike. And your job after the first kill would be not to fight more, would be to buy time and be as annoying as possible. So you get a kill and you try to go all the way to the wall. And the reason why you want to go to the wall is because you want to close this angle. You don't want to go this way or backwards because you're still going to be open. You want to close the angle by moving to the right side and start sending prowlers. And after you send those prowlers, which obviously will keep the enemies that are chasing you busy, that's when from here you can start moving backwards because those prowlers are basically buying you time to be able to reposition. And the longer you stay annoying here, the more time basically your teammates have to figure out how to defuse this spike.
Let's run them when they come up. Any sound?
No.
Get out of my
Stars
way.
in A.
Can't use that.
So that here you're playing passive on A, you're predicting it's going to be A because they have KO ult, something you've done before. Now you have a Phantom, you want to play safe from Dagout. Completely fine, I completely agree. One thing I don't like is that once again it felt like you don't have a plan how to play from Dagout. So here we kind of chill, Jet is holding an angle, completely fine. Right here, one thing that you could be doing as an initiator, a lot of the times you don't want to just have your gun, you want to have your ability out, and if you're in a safe position, especially if someone is holding like the initial angle. So here I would have my jail out, and the second that Jet takes a shot, I'm assuming they're going to start chasing her, so immediately throw jail right there to stop any potential rashes. Here, that was really good that you went back here, but now, as I said, this position is really valuable. You don't want to die here because that allows them to push backside, take control of Dagout in secret, and then the retake is close to impossible. That's why right here, the only angle you actually want to peek is off angle that opens right over here. This is basically what you want to hold. Maybe a little bit wider, but you don't want to be fighting with main. You could, even right now, because this is a 5v4, you can just let them come out of main if you want to. Maybe open up and spray a little bit if you want to, but right now, if you simply just maintain backside, in my opinion, this round is over unless they do something ridiculous. Maybe they're gonna push Ard and kill Jet and take control of Ard. But as long as you maintain this, everything is fine. You playing aggressive here would be fine if you had maybe a guy backside to peek with you or have another guy that might be able to control Dagout after you died. But here, unfortunately, you lost a really important situation where nobody can take over Thermir team.
No one in front of A. I've got an ult for retake.
Got to kill.
Bring them down.
Top mid.
Might be going back.
Once below.
Bring them down.
Only
One guy mid. Chamber.
Gonna rotate it.
I'm smoked off. I'm gonna need some help. You try to pay for me? Quickly, I'm dead!
Okay, so let's talk about this round. I like the general idea. We check A, we rotate B if needed because we have ult. It's the last round. Everything was perfect until the moment of where you got the kill in double doors. So this being the last round, you always want to make sure that you will use your ulti. And that's relatively important because ults obviously are quite powerful. Here, I really like that you've noticed my teammates are going back. I need to be ready for double doors because obviously somebody could have timing. And this Reyna in the past was peeking double doors on timing. She was looking for stuff. So this is obviously something that we called pattern recognition. Something that is repetitive from an enemy and something we should be cautious about because they might do it because that's their comfort zone. And right now, this is where the bad stuff starts happening. Because you're on 11 HP, you should be thinking to yourself, I need to position myself somewhere where I can use my ulti and make sure that I'm not gonna get mollied, spammed, or wallbanged. I just want to utilize this ulti. So I should not be in any position where I have to play first contact holding something. Which basically means you could go down connector if you want and just simply chill here, and if they're gonna push double doors, you kinda ulti and utilize your players here. You could even go all the way around CT, which for me is the safest option. You go all the way around CT towards B. You can just basically run up to here, see if they're pushing B. If they're not, you can obviously make your way back A before they start rotating. But you never want to stay here. This is the last position that you were spotted in, and this is basically what info the enemy has. Fair is 10 HP in double doors, which means they might be quite keen on pushing you. And you putting yourself in this position right here, in this corner where you're gonna be stuck, is completely ridiculous for this situation, because even if you ult from this corner, you're not getting much value and you're probably dead on the spot anyway. And this little bit right here also, I understand that you were trying to support your jet, which I completely agree with. You can prowler, but you should be doing it safely. Whereas right here, you go out in the open to a duel that might happen. Sure, Jet might die first, but this guy can insta peek and also get you. So right here, I feel like this was a little bit too much. I would be prowling from here, making sure I don't get wallbanged and helping her like that. So those were like the main issues I had, because as I said, you should be in a position where you never have to play refrag, you never have to have the first contact. All you need to do is ult for somebody that is already fighting or is about to fight.
I'll find you. Bring them down. Marked one.
Three.
Alright, I think you go.
Obscuring concealment.
Careful now.
What's not being held? It is being held except for the left side.
Careful
Link.
here.
Link's not being held.
Placing swarm grenade. Placing swarm grenade. Enemies. Placing alarm bot. Satisfied.
Vandal on site.
Swarm grenade. Where are you? Swarm Can't use that. Mark two. Got one.
Yeah, I've got dog. Wait.
One down. Bring them down.
Diffusing, diffusing.
Last player standing. One enemy remaining.
Nice.
Okay, so let's analyze this round again. So the first thing I didn't like right here is this little bit in the middle. I feel like by throwing the recon towards double doors, you were exposed for a little bit too long for the art peak. Because with sheriffs, this is quite a popular peak. Obviously, Chamber might peak this with his headhunter, Jet might peak this with the sheriff. So I feel like this fake in middle that you were trying to do, like let's pretend we're doing an A split or let's get some info, is just simply not worth you sacrificing your life, potentially your gun. So right here, definitely I wouldn't be so keen on throwing this eye so perfectly and then being open to this. Maybe with perfect movement you could have gone back, which I actually doubt. Maybe if you did it like from a little bit back here, throw it while running forward and making a circle with your movement. So this was a little bit the first bit of what I didn't like. The second bit of what I didn't like starts right here. So as I've told you before on defense, it's really important to try to deny attackers the control of Dagout or Art when they're trying to take A. Which, if you think about being an attacker, that's exactly what you need and what you should want. So seeing what's going on side right now and seeing that my teammates are actually not taking Art, backside, or Dagout, I would be thinking, okay, I need to kind of help them. Going close range against Classic with a Spectre is fine. Sure, you might get right click, but you will be able to run and gun them. And the problem with playing main is that as much as you can argue, okay, we have better guns, we can play long range. Sheriff obviously is better than the Spectre long range. That's one argument to make. But another argument to make is that the enemies will have 3 angles to fight from, which is Art, Flowers, and Dagout, and you guys will have 1 angle to hold from, which means they will know exactly where to aim. So right here, one thing that you should have done is immediately try to push out on side, seeing that this is smoked and this is smoked, and you should be pathing this way, so left side of side to not be open to any potential Dagout peek, and Flowers, obviously, if it gets peeks through the smoke, you will be able to react. And once you make it to backside, I would be throwing that last Prowler that you have to try to fight for this. And even if you get a 1-for-1, this sort of initiative that you're taking backside might allow your teammates to also follow up and play refrag, which obviously you should come. When you're getting here, Jet play refrag with me, fight for secret, and we should be completely fine. Whereas right here, you won the round by skin of its teeth because we barely made it due to Killjoy clutching it.
up, walk up. They don't know that we're here.
I'll find you.
Okay, let's go A now. Let's go back to A. They're gonna rotate here. Let's go back. Take the spike over. I wanna keep making sound. Killjoy and Jet, you make sound. Or you don't make sound, I mean. Try to look. Nice. Jet's in the Nice.
One more. You have gank here, you want. Go here, go here.
Yeah, I'll go.
80.
I'll try to kill him, wait.
Last player.
I have knives, that's sure.
Start of the round, I think was good. I like that we got an entry, and I like your call really much, because people will over-rotate on solo queue, so trying to tell your teammates to go back A after the pick, perfect in my opinion. Yeah, so here, this is this one bit that I feel like you didn't think about. Smokes obviously are variables. They could disappear because they only last for X amount of seconds, depending on what agent you're facing. So you making noise doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be close. You want to keep making noise and be able to run away, because there's no point of you fighting here anymore. Sacrificing your life is not going to be selling this fake more than simply just making noise. So here I feel like you should have gone pillar immediately. Even if not pillar, you could have just gone back and just keep taking shots, pretending like there is any pressure. But the most risky thing that you did right here is you basically assume that the enemy jet has no mouse, because right here when you were falling back, skipping this reload that was obviously risky was this little bit. So right now you know this jet is backside right there, and she obviously is not gonna just immediately rotate A even though this guy died. Like, she might still get a kill and then rotate. So essentially, a jet with a Vandal is a lot more useful for them than a Fade with 45 HP and a Sheriff and almost no util. So that here I wouldn't be just jumping across, because this is not a small jump. What I would do is I would try to just simply maintain my position, jiggle, and then make sure that when she is gone, that's when I rotate. Because if you guys are gonna play this kind of jiggle game and she will try to kill you for 20 seconds, that's good. That's better for your team than it is for theirs, because as I said, she has more value to her team than you do to yours. So this little bit right here, when you jump, this was ridiculous. If this jet was open in an angle, you should be dead right here. And another little bit right here is that we don't know where the rest of them are. We only know where jet is. So every single bit of you opening the new angle, which could have been pushed, should be with your gun out. So straight up here, we should be aiming here and have our gun out. Because even if, let's say, they were visible on the map, we were selling a B fake and we did not see them on the map because we were busy with what's in front of us.
I'll find you. Still waiting.
Don't go.
Reloading.
Nice one.
Bring them down.
Reina's here. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, go, go mid to B. Let's just try to get that in as well.
Obscuring vision.
Looking.
Bring them down. Reloading. Nice,
Get the gun.
nice. Weapon here.
Okay, let's go B now. Side.
Mare, chase them!
One guy backside,
There.
backside, backside.
One enemy remaining. 30 seconds left.
He's an A player. Wanna hold flank.
Out city, backside.
Okay, so this round, in my opinion, was close to being perfect. There's only one bit that I didn't like right here. So right here, what I really like is that straight up after spotting two people here and getting a pick on chamber right there, you called mid to B, which is perfect. Two people on A, one on B. Makes sense. But one thing I wanted to be picky about is about what happens in connector. So right here, I actually like this Prowler because obviously the person that was connector might be holding the cross, we force her back, we might be able to push 3v1. You decided to Prowler and follow up on it to try to get a pick. I mean, fine. If you feel like you can win a 1v1, it's completely fine. One thing that I simply just didn't like is that if you think about this Reina and her being anywhere over here, usually what a player that is getting prowlered will do is when the prowler finishes, they're gonna insta peek. So in this specific case, what I don't like is that when the prowler disappeared, you kept on moving forward. Whereas immediately after the prowler disappears, you should stop and hold, because that person might be about to peek. So this moment right here is what I'm talking about. So right here, this is where I would be already holding. Maybe one more small step to the left to kind of get off the main line. But right here, for the next couple of seconds, you're still moving, you still have to be adjusting your crosshair. And if the person was right there when you were prowlering, I feel like they insta-peek right after the prowler finishes. Right here, I feel like we were lucky enough that Reina probably was out of position and she just came back. That's why she was so surprised that you were already so close. But if she was closer, she might have caught you on that off step and we might have lost this important duel.
Bring them down.
Here. Alright.
Where are you?
Backside.
Catch them.
Go.
We got pulled. Nice. That's so backside. Nice.
Spike planted.
One more here.
Split my control. Actually.
Guy is dead.
Nice.
One more. Oh no.
Where?
He could be city.
One enemy remaining.
He could be everywhere.
Why is this?
Yeah, I know it.
Okay, so let's talk about this round. Because even though it felt like not much was happening, I feel like there were two small inaccuracies right here.
Out of my way. Bring them down.
So Prowler obviously is great, you dodging the knife is great. Right here you could definitely use some sort of a simple lineup to throw this eye a little bit better, maybe on top of this building right here, maybe backside a little bit better, harder to shoot, maybe on top of this. But sure, I mean you don't have lineup, that's completely fine. But this is what I don't like about this specific play.
Where are you?
Right here we get smoked off, and as I taught you in the past, we always want to look at the map when we're in a safe position. So right here, you want to be looking at the map due to the fact that you need to know what am I getting into. So first of all, you look at your recon and you're like, oh, backside is obviously open because my recon is not spotting it. People could be dag out, people could be secret. So that's your understanding based on the recon. But right here, if you just kept on looking because you're being pulled, so once again, map, you would be able to see on the map where Astra is. And right now, if this is me, simply just based on knowing where to flag and where she is, and about the knowledge of the map, I'm spamming her. I have a Phantom, I know where she is, let's spam her. Which, unfortunately, you didn't do. And the second bit that I didn't like right here is that we have not yet stabilized the site, which means we hear that there is a KO right here that is fragging out. We don't have much control. We have two people in main. So the last thing you want to do right now, in my opinion, is to plant. Because if this Jet is going to lose this duel to KO, this becomes a 4v3 with two people stack main, you stack on side, and them having both art, dagout, and also flowers with the potential flank if they do that. So right here, if this is me, I'm fighting with Jet. Whether you want to drop the spike, whether you want to do it with the spike, right here you should be following Jet for the refrag, secure this KO, and then when you feel like you've stabilized, nobody's pushing you, that's when you can plant. Whereas right here, as I said, if this Jet doesn't win this duel against Astra, and Astra or KO right there, this round might be tough. A second small bit right here is right here. We have a 3v1 situation, and the scariest thing about this is that we don't know where Chamber is, meaning that if he peeks out of the position that we don't expect and gets a 1v1, then two of you might not coordinate. So a simple example, let's say he's coming from flowers. Killjoy makes a mistake and peeks. This guy wins the duel, and then Phoenix is thinking that you're gonna peek, so he peeks this way. You peek that way. Chamber wins a 1v1, then you have a 1v1. So right now, the first thing that comes to my mind is that I want to use my Prowler to find them. And the reason why that is because this Prowler is not going to be that useful anyway. And you trading your position for his, because obviously you're going to give away your position by Prowlering, is a worth trade because it's more important to know where he is than him knowing where one of us is. So right here, I would definitely insta Prowler. It's not a huge mistake or anything, but I definitely think it would be optimal for you to immediately Prowler at least one position, whether it's going to be Art or whether it's going to be Dag Out. I would personally do it towards Art because you're the closest to it and you can check everything here. Whereas Dag Out, it might be tricky because you have to go there, you might not check this. Flower also might be tricky because you then Prowler here, he might sneak out this way. So I would insta Prowler Art after the suppression was gone.
Flash or something. Okay.
I have the spike. Bring them down.
I'm mulling
Turn out.
now.
Find
Wait.
There.
Can you flash, Phoenix?
Enemy spotted.
Close to
Spike planted.
I'm low.
Bring them down.
Yeah.
Okay, a few things about this round. The beginning was all fine. One little bit that I didn't like is right here. So, as we obviously know, when we start with FPS, one of the core things and the main things that we learn is that we should never peek with W or S or nor diagonally with WA, WD. So right here, simply knowing after you threw your recon that nobody's here and the only angles that is threatening might be backside, we should be coming out of the smoke pressing A like this or D like that. Whereas here, unfortunately, what we see from you is straight up W keying through the smoke. And that's not the way to peek. Second thing is actually right here. So backside on B is actually really important to control because if you can control this, that means for the defenders that are trying to retake is that if they cannot get this, they will have to push this way, which obviously leaves them in the sandwich scenario. So both backside and long are gonna be able to work together to shoot them from both sides. So that's why backside is so important to control. So I like that you chose to try to fight for it, try to control it. What I do not like is right here after you send your Prowler and you clear it, you actively look for a fight with people that are still CT, Heaven, and here. So on top of them obviously running out of time and giving them insta fights is something that they want, is that you're not technically fighting for backside as much as you're fighting for positions that we don't care about. So one thing that you just could have done here is just simply hold the diagonal off angle right here or sidestep in place to be able to hold it. You have Astra right behind you, and if you guys can just simply control it, the round is over. So this was definitely an unnecessary risk. And on top, you peeking this instantly, even before the Astra wall disappears, is additionally risky because the enemies have no one else to fight.
Thanks.
Bring them down.
Okay, cool.
Placing sentry.
We all have to play sight again.
Initiated.
There. Reload. There. I'll find you. Still waiting. Placing swarm grenade.
Bear, take them.
Bring them down. No charges. We'll catch them.
Lights down. Alarm
One
bot
eye.
out. Turrets destroyed.
One
One
behind.
flank. What art?
There. Last player standing.
This is where the main problem starts. I feel like you had no idea how to play this post plant. So we know one guy is CT due to your ulti, and we don't know where Chamber is. The reason why I would be assuming that Chamber is definitely not CT is because we've shown them that we want to play A from the beginning, which means if Chamber would be CT, he would probably get ulted as well. So I'm obviously betting right here he's either Art or flank. And we are not in the pleasant situation because we are not controlling match and you cannot control match on 17 HP. So right now, if I was you, I would try to take the initiative and tell somebody to play refrag with you. You play first, they play second because you're in low HP, and you try to push something because you don't want to feel threatened by every single position. You don't want to just stay here and bet, oh, maybe he's there, maybe he's there, maybe he's there. No, you don't want to be open. So right here, for example, you can ask Astra, push flowers with me, just refrag me, or do the same thing in art. But here, the worst thing that we could have done, unfortunately, happened. Because what we do
One behind.
is we put all of ourselves in the most open positions. This is now open, that is open, backside obviously is a possibility, art is a possibility, flank is a possibility, and sure, now we know one is flank, one is CT, but we are not going to be fighting together. It's hard to fight together right now because you guys are in such open positions. If Keijo wants to peek there with you, for example, she opens herself to main. It's not like you guys can cross suddenly and fight A main with her because this is open. So this was really, really bad and we needed the initiative. And as I said, it would be nice for you to make that call because you were the most pushed up member and you were the one solo, which means you can make that call to play for the refrag.
Make sure you don't get tagged. Nice on B.
Bring them down.
Let's go, let's go.
Where are we? One enemy remaining.
40.
Wait, Killjoy, play with me, play with me, because I'm in a shit position.
And now here. What should Fade do? Insta peek after being spotted. Try to just simply wait and pray to God that Killjoy is gonna help her. Or jiggle in place to try to bait out a shot from KO and then start shooting the second he takes a shot at his shoulder peak. And the correct answer would be C. The reason why is that if Fade insta peaks, there is no refrag possibility obviously from Killjoy, and that's one of the first things that the enemy might think that the enemy is going to do if they get spotted. The second option, which is to simply just stay there and not do anything, leaves you really vulnerable to a pre-fire, and considering that KO knifed this, obviously the main and the most obvious position would be to pre-fire this. Whereas the sidestepping, which is the answer C, allows you to jiggle in place, which at least has some sort of a margin of error for the enemy missing the headshot, and also allows to bait out a shot from the enemy to know exactly when to try to swing wider and go for the kill. So this is going to be the end of the VOD. Thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. And the main pointers that I would say would be for Ian looking at this VOD would be looking at this VOD, the main things I feel like Ian should improve on is, first of all, understanding of how to play pedal and what is important on those sides for both attackers and defenders, focusing on understanding that the backside is really important for both defenders and attackers. That's why during post plans you shouldn't fight from it as much, try to fight for it. And also on A side, how important it is to control art or dag out for both defenders and attackers. That's why as an attacker, you should try to fight for one. So either art or dag out. And as a defender, you should try to disallow enemies to be able to push it instead of trying to fight people that are here and allowing them to take it, especially when you're playing alone. Another thing that I would definitely say that still is lacking is glancing at the map in a position where you're not the first one to push, or if you're in the smoke behind Astra ult, because a lot of the times a key information was missed, which would allow you to make a better decision upon glancing at the map a little bit more. Other than that, I feel like you played pretty well. Communication was okay. I like the calls. And that would be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching and see you in the next one.